IPID head Robert McBride is set to appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee today. This follows allegations that he tried to block former acting National Police Commissioner Khomotso Phahlane from being permanently appointed. The claims come from Cedric Nkabinde, the former chief of staff to Senzo Mchunu, who accused McBride of unethical conduct in several investigations. Last week, Phahlane told the committee McBride allegedly used private investigator Paul O'Sullivan and journalists to fabricate malicious claims against him and his family. Now let's take you to Cape Town and to Newzroom Afrika's Zoleka Qodashe. She's there in Parliament ahead of the sitting of the ad hoc committee. Zoleka, good morning. So there are several allegations involved here, among them from Khomotso Phahlane, is in fact that Robert McBride and Paul O'Sullivan worked together to smear his name.
That's correct, Michelle. Good morning, and good morning to the viewers. In fact, Robert McBride is in the building and in the holding room of the parliamentary chambers. You'll remember that there are a series of questions that he is expected to answer in relation to those allegations that were made by Cedric Nkabinde. And the reason why Cedric Nkabinde was the appropriate person to actually tell the ad hoc committee of this alleged smear campaign is because he himself allegedly formed part of what has now been known as the Phahlane task team. And in fact, it was in 2015 when Khomotso Phahlane ascended to the most senior position within the SAPS, that of acting National Police Commissioner. And then in 2017, he was suspended. But it was in 2017 when there was this Phahlane task team. You remember that Cedric Nkabinde named several people as being part of that particular plot, also speaking about forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan, as well as some journalists that allegedly formed part of this Phahlane task team. Of course, Khomotso Phahlane, when he appeared before the inquisitorial body last week, confirmed these allegations, saying that at first he was not aware, and also said that it was Robert McBride that essentially tried to associate himself very closely with Khomotso Phahlane, saying that they formed part of the same team, they were on the same side, and that essentially there were detractors that were working against what he said were good people like himself, as well as Khomotso Phahlane. So it will be interesting what he has to say in relation to that particular task team, and why in particular that allegation that Paul O'Sullivan wanted him to be the permanent National Police Commissioner, why that would be the case, and what interests and what powers Paul O'Sullivan actually possesses. You'll remember that he's also told the inquisitorial body that he cannot appear before it, that is now Paul O'Sullivan, cannot appear before it physically, and that he will only be able to actually appear before it virtually, and also said that some members of parliament were criminals, also saying that he would not recognize members of Action SA, also members of the MK party, as well as members of the EFF. This is something that the ad hoc committee has taken great offense to, particularly because it is, according to the Constitution, Parliament is able to decide its own processes. But let's just take a listen to what Khomotso Phahlane had to say in relation to those allegations and what essentially took place between himself as well as Robert McBride.
On the 5th of June, my wife and I were attacked by 3 gun-wielding men while at a spa in Duncanville, Johannesburg. I remain grateful to the Almighty that we survived the attack, even though we sustained some injuries during the unfortunate incident. Following the attack on 5th June at about 1934, the first person who called me was Robert McBride. Robert McBride sent me a text message via WhatsApp which read, "Just heard. Sorry about that. Let me know if you need help. Offer still stands." Which offer still stands? I responded at 19:30 to his message as follows: "Noted, with appreciation, kind regards." That's where I left it. I was taken aback months later in 2017 when I found out that it was Robert McBride who obtained a copy of the CCTV camera footage and recordings of the attack, forwarded it to Paul O'Sullivan's assistant Sarah Jane Trent and Peter Louis Mayberg, who circulated such via YouTube with distorted reporting to the media.
Now, Michelle, you'll remember that Cedric Nkabinde around 2018 blew the lid on those particular allegations, also telling the then Minister of Police, Peggy about this Patlane task team. And that is what he said it was the reason why the minister would not renew the contract of Robert McBride in 2019. So we expect that when those proceedings kick off at 11 a.m., he'll first field a series of questions from the evidence leaders, who will also look back at his history within IPID, as well as what he is currently doing, before looking at those particular allegations, after which he will field a series of other questions from lawmakers. Michelle.
Did Patlane talk about or give any detail on why Robert McBride and Paul O'Sullivan might have wanted to block his permanent appointment?
Well, when Patlane spoke to or really testified before the inquisitorial body last week, he just said that there was a smear campaign. But you'll remember that Cedric Nkabinde, who allegedly formed part of this task team, said that Robert McBride wanted, or rather Paul O'Sullivan wanted Robert McBride to be the permanent National Police Commissioner. But you'll remember, Michelle, that according to the Constitution, it is the President that appoints a National Police Commissioner, according to Section 207, subsection 1 of the Constitution. But what Cedric Nkabinde said is that they were trying to force the President's hand to take action against Patlane so that he would not be the appropriate fit for the position of National Commissioner. But you'll remember also the evidence of Patlane is that when that particular action was taken against him in 2017, when he was suspended by, or rather told to step aside, and then after that suspended by Minister Fikile Mbalula, that the minister did not have the power to actually relinquish, or rather remove Patlane from his position, because it is the President that would have the power to appoint him and therefore remove him from the position of National Police Commissioner. Michelle.
All right, Zuleka, thanks very much indeed for that update. Once the ad hoc committee begins its work at 11 o'clock, we will take you live to Cape Town.